Okay, and so to recap the mnemonics from this class, first we talked about when we were at the wedding, we talked about being a data analyst at a wedding and using our data analysis abilities to determine who, to really start to understand, survey the land and understand who's in a relationship, who's not. And maybe from that ability, as we start to understand our data points, the other people around us, we could really get a sense of, we could try to predict who's going to dance with us or not, who's single, who's available, who's not, and who do we want to stay away from. And really, going a little bit step further is maybe someone that would say yes when we chose to dance with them. So we can use our data analysis abilities to understand relationships, but taking it a step further and not necessarily predicting the future, but get a good sense of how to position ourselves to take advantage of opportunities when they do arise. Okay. We also wanted to think about, if you remember, my niece was at the wedding as well, and she really likes her sweets and stuff like that. So what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we are selecting the best sweets. When we take them before my niece has a chance to get there and choose the best sweets. She's putting a lot of time into choosing the best ones here, and we kind of want to do the same things. We want to put some time and thought into which of the variables, which of the features are going to be the best predictors in our data set, which are going to be the most important ones that are related to our problem, and the ones important to kind of narrow down our search. We want to select them down and really reduce the amount that we're going to go through and analyze. We also wanted to understand the strength and the direction of our relation, of the relationships. We talked about how finding a job, really choosing a good job position can really affect, our whole direction of our life. Choosing poorly could put our life in a bad direction, and so choosing properly is very important. And with that, we want to understand, the key drivers, things that are really going to impact that final decision. Money is obviously important, but work conditions, how close it is, what the actual job is, what are the jobs that it could lead into. All these things are very important in making our decision about which job to choose. We also discussed the understanding on a multivariate basis. As we make a decision, we want to understand not only how our decision is going to impact, the here and now, that we make more money, but we also want to understand how things will, the multivariate situation, how things are, the many things that are going to be affected by making this decision. You can think of, you're working at this new job and your colleagues, and maybe you have a disagreement with one of them. It's just not a disagreement between the two of you. That colleague is probably going to talk to other people, and it becomes kind of drama in the company, and more people are going to know about that. There's going to be, every choice in life, it has more than one effect, unfortunately. It kind of works that way. We don't just generally, it's not a cause and effect. There's many things that are going to be impact. Okay. So next we talked about variance. And now variance is really describing how on a univariate basis, how things move away from the middle. Okay, so we need to understand variance because that led into covariance, which are how two variables move together. And we discussed the problem of covariance is that we are sometimes not really sure of the unit. It's kind of confusing to interpret the unit of measurement. We use the example of, if we have mice in one column, we have chameleons in another. We get the covariance between those two would be a chameleon, which is very cute and adorable, but very hard to interpret. And even if you could interpret, what 12 chameleons are, it would be hard to understand then how 12 chameleons relates to 15 apple bananas, right? It kind of loses that sense. So the unit of measurement becomes very important in covariance. To help us deal with that, we do a transformation of this. We divide the covariance by the standard deviation of x and the standard deviation of y, and we get a nice number between -1 and +1 that gives us a hot and cold relationship, and we call that correlation. Okay, and so the correlation is a nice summary statistic, very simple and easy to interpret between just amongst the relationships in our data set or in with other data sets. It's also very handy to communicate. Everyone can get a good sense of what a zero point 0.8 correlation is if it goes up to 1, and lots of people understand this, and so it makes it a lot easier versus a chameleon, which not many people understand. Okay. And so we want to be careful though, because getting a simple summary statistic can often miss certain things, right? It can be leave a little bit to desired in the sense that we're going to be missing some things. And so we really want to supplement our correlation analysis with a simple visual inspection and really make sure that it is really doing a good job of summarizing the relationship, or is there something else going on that we need to inspect a little bit further? We discussed how outliers are always affecting our summary statistics, and correlation analysis is no different. It will affect a correlation for the better or worse, right? So it could inflate or deflate the relationship, and we want to understand how it's doing that so we can better prepare ourselves and better understand the data. We saw this guy pulling the leaning tower pieces the right way. We might be getting a better answer. But is that really the accurate answer that we want to understand? Does it accurately describe the answer by the effect of the outlier? Maybe not. So we want to be careful and at least understand these outliers in our data set. Okay, so we talked a lot of mnemonics today, lots of unique pictures, logical pictures, some funny stories to go around them. I use colors throughout the workbook to help kind of connect. It's not the most powerful mnemonic, but it helps us connect things in our memory and should help us draw us back to the content, to the pictures. Okay, I told some stories around things, and we told stories as we went through the class today, and it was just to connect the lessons learned, connecting the memories to the past, but also connecting them together. Okay, and some word associations through this. I tried to use when I was telling the stories, I tried to use location, 3D space, because our minds just work better remembering 3D spaces. Okay, I try to be funny as I was telling to bring a little bit of emotions to this. Your job is to now go back. You could see that there's a lot of extra writing in the class. Okay, so go through and review and read the slides. Make sure you're going through, and hopefully as well in this lesson that you'll see on Data Simple, there's a lot of extra material underneath the videos. Okay, so read those as well to help reinforce this concept. Do a little bit of recall. Hear the things in a different format, a different wording will help you really understand and really lock these concepts in your mind. Okay, so I will see you for the next video.